All right, there we go. Oh, so this is very much like the old tripod. I just like the color better. It's kind of a coppery color. Hold on, let's. Oh, look, it adjusts. Oh, that's so fantastic. See, because this one here no longer. Oops, see, that just pops off because this rubber piece is jacked up. But this no longer adjusts because it's solid on there, and this whole thing is falling apart. But it's basically this. You've seen the color. It's basically this one, but better. All right, so let's get this camera back in the van, and let's take this camera out and do a video. Alrighty, so I don't have any Ranger beads. I don't have my paste beads with me today. I don't really need them. I generally can kind of keep track without them. But I am top beads, which is one bottom bead away from my starting point. So all I got to do is 9 more exactly like that. Whew. Let's set this up. Oh, everything's so tight. There we go. So do that 9 more times, and I'm a mile away. So I might keep track. I might pace myself for a mile south and set up some sort of marker. I'm not going to have time to pace myself a mile north, but I will come out here. I did get my bicycle out, and I haven't rode the bike since last summer. Both the tires are flat. I went to put air in the tires, but I took it to Bell Tire. It's the only place in town that I know of that has free air, but their machine won't work on bikes. Maybe it's because there's not enough of pressure to, I don't know, but they work on the tires, the van tires, but when I try to plug it into the bicycle tire, it won't produce any air. So maybe they've got it set so that it won't do that. I'm gonna have to end up buying a pump. I have purchased some of those little small ones that you attach to the bike, but none of those have ever worked for me, so I'm over that. I'm not going to do that again because they just don't work for me. So I'm gonna have to actually get one of the, decent sized ones where you pump it up. So I'm gonna get me one of those eventually in the next couple months. I may have to end up going to one of those like $1.50, $2 air places and actually pumping my tire up and actually spending a couple bucks doing that. I want to get on that bike and ride it. I've got several projects in mind. I want to come out here and I want to remark some distances. I also want to go to Juliet Mike, and they have a walking trail out there, a cement paved walking trail, and I want to ride that and distance that out as well. So I got a few things I want to do on the bike. I have not started making my bicycle camper yet. Man, we got rid of our storage unit several months ago, and everything has just been piled in the house, and I have the back room basically to myself. I mean, Michelle's got the closet for her stuff, but I've got way way too much outdoorsy crap. I just do. I like having it all. I can give you reasons why I have everything, whether it's a good reason or not. I can give you reason why, even if it's because. I have noticed that no matter what, when I decide to get rid of something, I throw it away. Within the next couple days of tossing it out, I always find a reason why I need it. Which is why I don't like getting rid of stuff. But I don't have the space for it. I mean, if I had a huge house or a barn or a huge storage area, I'd keep everything, because why not? You know, if I had the space for it. I just don't have the space for it. Plus, my philosophy and intent for survival is basically whatever I can carry is what I have. So even if I have it stored away somewhere, if I don't have access to it when I need it, I might as well not have it at all. So I really want to minimize my stuff tremendously. I just have such a hard time throwing stuff out, even good stuff, or repurposing, I mean, re-gifting it to other people. But I really need to try to force myself to do that. So maybe in the next few days, maybe a bunch of my stuff is going to start disappearing. I hope it does. So let me continue this walk. I'm loving the camera. Now that I got it out and start using it, I'm loving it. I was a little concerned about using it because I'm so rough on stuff, and the old one still works just fine. So I didn't want to use the new one until the old one completely died off. But I don't need to do that. So I've got this new one. I might as well use it. There's no reason not to. It's getting harder and harder to find these cameras. This is a Sony, let me look here. What's it? Hold on. A Sony Handycam. It's called a Sony Handycam. And again, I don't think they're actually making new one of these. I think they're just refurbishing all of them at this point. So, like normal, I am using outdated gear because it works for me. I don't need to change something that works. And I don't like change anyway, and everybody who knows me knows I can't stand change. I'll be honest, and I don't want to make anybody upset, and I don't, you know, I appreciate all of the kindness that people do for me. I truly, truly do. But I'm happier with this Sony Handycam, which did cost about $200, and for Michelle and I, that's a heck of a lot of money. This camera here cost about $200, but I am so much more happier with this camera than I am that $500 or $600 GoPro 11 that a wonderful friend gave to me many months ago. First of all, the GoPro is honestly just too modern and sophisticated for my computer and our program, our editing program. So I can't read any of the videos anyway. My computer nor Michelle's computer read that GoPro. It's unformed. It says it can't find it doesn't recognize it. Something to that effect. It doesn't recognize the format because our computers are just so old. Also, I did get it onto our editing program one time, and the editing program won't run it. The video works when it did, because it only worked one time. The video didn't work. It wouldn't work the video, so I couldn't edit because it just wasn't working. So although I love the GoPro 11 as a gift from a very kind person, I just can't use it. I have a GoPro 11 with full gear. sitting in my house that I cannot use. I just don't have the capability of using such a modern piece of equipment. I really don't. So I don't have any use for it. I can't use it, and it's just sitting there. But this $200 out-of-date camera works fantastic for me because I know how to work it. It's decent enough to where my computer can read the format and my editing program can work it. So there we go. So I'm going to continue on. We are at one bottom bead, and I am going to walk a mile, and unless something super interesting happens, I won't get back with you guys until I hit that mile mark. So I'll get right back with you guys. And we are half a mile. That stick right there represents half a mile mark. So I thought I'd stop, chat for a few minutes, and then we'll go another half mile and then turn around. I know, well, hold on a second. Let's go in the woods over there and sit down on that tree. Alrighty, so tree's kind of dead. It's kind of crackling underneath my fat butt. Anyway, I know I've talked about how I do my pace count, but let me go through the general idea once again. So you have beads. You have a set of top beads that have 5 beads, and you have a set of bottom beads that have 10 beads, right? You can use 4 and 9 because the last count you just move to the next level, but I like having the 5 beads and the 10 beads, okay? So when you find out, there it goes. Woo! All right. So when you find out what your pace is, then you can just divide it amongst the beads. You can find out how many paces you can take with each top bead to hit a particular distance. I have several videos on how to do all this, so I'm not going to really go into depth with it. But it really comes down to I do my pace beads in 2 different ways. Now, I will say this, because I do it in 2 different ways, when I stop doing it for a amount of time, sometimes I mix them up and I do them, I mix the 2 together, which I did when I was in Wyoming, and it caused me to misjudge my pace count. I was very angry with myself for that mistake, but I realized what I was doing and I figured it out. So I like to use smaller steps for my top beads because I have attention problems. I lose focus quite easily, and if I wanted to, each top bead would be each bottom bead is 100 paces. Okay, so each bottom bead is 100 paces. If I wanted to, I could just go 100 paces with the beads, and I could reverse the way I do things. But I don't like that because I like to use the bottom beads as 100. Because if I use the top beads as a 100 pace, I start to lose focus or lose count. And if you lose count, whether it's 1 step or 100 steps, you're going to be off, and it just causes me problems. So what I've done is I've broken those down and I've flipped. So I use the top beads for my normal steps, and the bottom beads I count after I do the top beads. Each top bead for me is 20 paces. So when I go 20 paces with each top bead, I'll hit 100 when I get done. That will pop me down to a bottom bead, and I've got 100. Then I go back up to the top beads, 20, 20, 20, 20. I hit 100. I go down to a bottom bead. Once I get all 10 bottom beads done, that's a mile. Now I do it that way because of my attention issues and how I lose focus so easily, and it just works for me. So I only have to count 20 steps every time I flip a bead instead of going all the way to 100 when I know I'm gonna lose focus. I know I'm gonna forget where I'm at. Something's gonna catch my eye. Something will happen and I'm not gonna get to 100. So I break that down into 20s so that it's just easier for me. So every top bead is 20 paces. I hit 100 paces and I pop a bottom bead. Once I get the very last 10th bead on the bottom done, that's 1 mile. So that's just how I do it. You can also reverse that and hit the bottom beads and then pop a top bead, but I don't like doing that because, like I said, you got to count further and I just lose focus. So that's how I do my pace count. And like I said, every top bead's 20 steps. And you know, once I hit that top bead, boom, I pop a top bead, 20 steps, pop another top bead. That way if I lose focus, I can't be any more off than 20 steps, basically. So it's a lot easier than being off 99 or 100 steps. I could be off up to 100 steps if I do it the other way. This way I can only be off by 20 steps, and it's just a lot easier for me. So I'm gonna get back. I'm at a half mile right now. I'm gonna get back onto the path. I'm gonna continue on. I'm gonna get my mile. I'm gonna mark it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna mark this half mile too. I'm gonna mark my mile heading south, and then we'll head back to the house. I gotta pick up Jaden today. I gotta go to the dojo. If I can find time, I'm gonna stop off at a boxing club. They want to talk to me. So I got a lot of stuff doing today, but I'm getting out here doing some walking, doing some videoing, and I'm using this newest camera, which could be the 4th or 5th camera that I've had since my YouTube channel 11 years ago. And they've all been the same camera, except I did have to use what's called a bloggy. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but Michelle purchased it on sale at her college when she was in college. And it looks like a little cell phone, and it was called a bloggy, and she got it on sale, and I used that for about a year, I think, before I could get a new camera. But I think I've gone through 4 or 5 of these cameras in the last 11 years, not including that bloggy. So let's continue. All right, so that forked stick right there is my half mile mark from where I started. There we go. So let's continue on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, bingo. All right, here's 1 mile. Here we go. All right, so let me post a stake here, and here we are. This stick right here represents my pace at 1 mile from where I began. Now, when I get my bicycle, okay, so I'm headed back, and I don't need to worry about my pace because I've got that stick. I might add a couple more items there just to make sure. Let me do that, and I'll get back with you. All right, so I added another marker on the other side just to be on the safe side. Now, I did do this pace count a couple years ago, and I actually kind of remember being a little further down, but it's still really close either way. So what I will be doing though, as soon as I get air in those tires for my bicycle, I will be bringing my bicycle out here, and it does have a measuring device on it that gives me distance, so I can just ride my bike to a mile and it will show me where I'm at, and I'll see how close I am. Again, like I said, I recall, and I could be completely wrong, but I tend to recall that when I did this a couple years ago, I was a little further down. Now, Maybe my pace count's off this time, maybe it was off last time. Who knows, maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. Millions of reasons. But it did get me close enough that if I was looking for something like a camp or something like that, it would get me close enough to where I would visually be able to see it clearly and easily. Now, if I was looking for something that was buried and very much off a visual spectrum where you just wouldn't be able to find it unless you knew exactly where you were looking, I might be a little off and it might be more difficult to find. But again, like I said, I'm kind of jumping to conclusions at this point because I really don't know whether my memory is correct or what. So when I get my bike out, I'll be a little more confident in the distance when I use that device to measure an actual mile. And if I have to adjust my pace count, because I'm getting older, I'll be honest, I'm getting much older than my body's a lot more worn out than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. And I could just be taking smaller steps. I haven't readjusted my pace count in years, and since it is steps, you know, I could be taking smaller steps than I did a handful of years ago. Very, very feasible. You know, could be many things. Pace count is not 100% accurate, and you always have to reevaluate and readjust something like that. And like I said, I have not reevaluated or readjusted my pace count in more years than I can count, to be totally honest. So if I find that I'm extremely under or over with my mileage, then I will reevaluate my pace count. If I'm close, maybe I don't have to reevaluate my pace count. Now, the good thing is I'm accustomed to smaller increments of 20 steps. So maybe I'll just have to plus or minus 1 or 2 steps per my top beads, and that will completely adjust my pace count. So instead of taking 20 steps, maybe I'll have to take 21 or 22 steps with each bead. Something as easy as that. Then I'll just have to remember that it's changed, because I'll probably fall back to the 20 steps because that's what I've been doing for more years than I can count. But if I do have to adjust my pace count, I'll adjust my pace count. And I'll make sure I get it as close as I possibly can. And that's just something that everybody has to do over periods of time, just because our bodies change, and none of us are getting any younger. So there's that. I got out here, I did a mile walk. I have marked my pace count mile. I'll bring the bicycle out here when I can, when I get the tires pumped up, and I'll walk that, or I'll ride that mile, and I'll find out exactly how much I have to adjust. And if I'm lucky, I won't have to adjust anything. But if I am off and I do have to adjust, I probably won't have to adjust more than 1 or 2 steps per bead to make sure that I get my count back on track if I'm off. So if nothing else happens, I have to say thank you guys for watching Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft, and enjoy the outdoors, even if it's just your own backyard. All right, so here's where I began. I will say 59. This is the basic code name for this starting point. I am about 3 paces off from where I was This is about 3 paces. I'm not sure, you know. This is 100 steps from here to where I was counting to see how close I am, and I only got to 7, no 8, so I'm only 2 steps off. I got to 8, so that'd be 2 more steps forward. So just in that one set of beads, the one top bead, I could be 2 steps off, and you times that by 10, so that could be 20 steps. 20 steps is 1 top bead, so that whole mile I could be 20 steps off from that if I maintained my general positioning. As far as the overall walk goes, and the last 100 paces that I took, if that's accurate, then potentially I could be on the entire mile, I could possibly be up to 20 steps off, which is 1 complete top bead. And I'll be honest, that would put me closer to my original, the belief of my original positioning. So it could possibly be it. I probably won't remember to think about that when I get the bicycle out here. So if you guys are watching this video and I happen to do the bicycle anytime soon, and I film it, which I probably will, and I figure out how much off, if I'm only off by 1 bead or less, then I'm good to go. So we'll see. So I don't know if I said it before, but thank you guys for watching Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft, and enjoy the outdoors, even if it's just your own backyard.